Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm just going to be doing a freely flowing riff, like many of my sort of videos. A simple exercise of introspection, allowing whatever needs to come, whatever thoughts, feelings, or reflections. And again, there's no overarching plan for this video. The plan is to discover it as I go through it. And that's a form of creation that allows for just a profound sense of openness, a radical acceptance of whatever needs to arise. Because I see in many sort of creators, and also in myself, a certain stifling, a certain self-censorship, or a sort of a stiffness, a rigidity in our sort of performance in order to, please the algorithm, in order to create content that is visually engaging, that captures people's attention. And I suppose you'll see on YouTube or whatever social media platform, certain formulaic methods by which creators create content that grips people, that hooks them in, has lots of jump cuts, lots of sudden changes, because people's attention spans are very limited. And these sort of editing techniques of speaking, the way people present ideas in such a way to sort of keep people sort of lingering on, waiting for that next thing to be said, scarcely ever sort of leaving the viewer bored. This form of creation has become systemically incentivized on many social media algorithms by the way that the algorithms are designed, by what sort of metrics the algorithms are sort of looking for in determining whether they will promote a certain video or whether they promote another video. And of course, this sort of algorithmic pressure does often skew a lot of creators to making their content in a certain way, such that it's no longer authentic, really. Maybe they have a glimmer of authenticity, but they feel this big pressure to perform in a certain way so the algorithm will recommend their content because they're addicted to clicks and views, or perhaps they need it for their to make money of their work. And I don't know, all these sort of reflections are coming up for me as I've sort of taken 2 steps back from sort of falling into those sorts of patterns. I found myself sort of, thinking about that more. And it was coming to occupy my mind in such a way that it was obscuring my ability to teach, to speak on what really matters. It's not my nature to be, overly exciting, shouting and flamboyant, such that it creates this sort of sensation that keeps you hooked on. That's inauthentic to me. What is authentic to me is creating videos like this one, where there's a certain freedom and an honesty and a calmness. I'm not trying to overstimulate you. I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm really giving you a glimpse into my own psychical, spiritual, psychological processes, the way I think about certain things. Because I suppose part of me, my ego, thinks there is some value in what I have to say, and there is no arrogance in that. That is just, all it is just positive self-esteem. I understand the limitations of what I'm teaching, but I also understand the value of what I'm teaching. And I think as well, sometimes people, maybe speaking to myself, they can fall into this feeling that in order to be humble, they should never think or speak about their positive qualities. And I think maybe some of you can relate to that. But I think it's important to bring our attention to our positive qualities, not in a grandiose way where we're thinking, oh, we're just amazing. Because sometimes when we get lost in that sort of narcissistic absorption, we get detached from reality. It's important to hold, like the Buddhists would say, the middle way between having positive self-regard and also an understanding that there are natural imperfections in humans. I think we all have a tendency to dwell upon our imperfections, and for those things to comprise such a large segment of our consciousness, we obsess about it. Let's take one example, people's physical imperfection. Perhaps they're not as attractive as they would like to be. Perhaps they have, pimples on their skin or this or that thing. They're not where they want to be. And that imperfection consumes their mind such that they don't have any room to think about anything else. And such people are tormented by these sort of self-directed violence, maybe. And violence is a strong word, but I think it ties me into what I want to speak about a bit, is the violence of our thoughts, the violence of our mental activity, and how our mental activity, if left unchecked, if left unobserved, can inflict a form of violence upon our life and our existence. If you've ever been around someone who is very negative, they have a very negative outlook, everything they think and speak about, it has this negative venom associated with it. If you know any people like that, I want you to sort of reflect on what it's like to be in their presence, in their auric presence. And you will notice that there's a kind of stifling, there's a suffocation that occurs. And naturally, many of us, we wish to avoid people like that. Now, what do we do if we are like that person? Or perhaps there is a small part of ourselves which echoes certain aspects of that person. Perhaps we have a tendency to have these sort of negative thought loops that circle on ourselves. Maybe we feel as though we're not good enough, that we are not smart enough, not attractive enough, not this, anything like that. I want you to understand that the fact that such thoughts occur is not a bad thing. Meditation is not about suppressing or repressing thoughts. It's not about having a thought and then having another thought which says, oh, I shouldn't be thinking this thing. Apologies, my mic cut out. But I wanted to tie off a few of the ideas that I was sort of angling on with regards to our thoughts and the witnessing of thoughts and how we orient our attention such that we do not get lost in thought. And when and if we do get lost in thought or lost in various karmic cycles of behavior, of attention, our mind wandering, when we realize that our mind has deviated, we should not feel a sense of shame, because shame is just another thought form that is silently painful. It's this feeling that we are not good enough. And it's when you have shame, you don't have love. So what I'm asking perhaps is for you to be truly compassionate for yourself, and to know that your work that you're doing, your work doesn't have to originate in the sense of self-inflicted shame, this feeling of needing to prove yourself or to validate yourself by doing something. I think a lot of people feel this way in this world today. We're not taught that we are enough, that we're worthy. We're in fact conditioned into, feeling a sense of insufficiency. That's how advertisements work. They're trying to sell you something that you don't need by creating a conditioned thought or a conditioned desire within you that, I need this thing. You don't need anything. You just need yourself. I think to sort of sign off, I want people to really notice every thought, every passing thought, and more importantly, what lies in between thoughts at that silent period, which is just here and now all the time. Because when you rest in that silence, then you are there. And yes, to many of us, we may feel bored by this silence. We will wish to ignore it or evade it by stimulating ourselves, stimulating our senses. Indeed, that is a tendency of many of us in the world today. We wish to avoid silence at whatever cost, avoid stillness, avoid confronting the reality of our being. And so we fill our head with so much noise, we fill our egos with so many stories about where we are going, what we should be doing, the pursuit of money, the pursuit of status, all these sorts of things. We fill our life up with so many different things and we forget the source of it all, the primordial silence of existence. But yeah, I'll speak more on this silence. Ironically, I notice the irony in speaking about silence. But I think people benefit from that. They benefit from conceptual pointers, conceptual frameworks that can help prime your perception so that you know where to look. But we all have to look ourselves ultimately. You will not know this sort of thing by knowing the conceptual pointers. You have to go beyond the concepts, go beyond the words, the ideas, the abstractions. The words, they conceal as much as they reveal, I think. And I think that's a good place to sign off. Anyways, good day, everyone. It's been interesting and insightful, and I'll see you next time.